The orange Caesar has tacoed out. That stands for Trump always chickens out. Um, and if the list is anything to go by, the negotiating list with the Iranian Republic, it looks like a complete capitulation. As I said in my last video, the US is losing this war, or the US and Israel are losing this war, and it appears that Trump knows that. Whether people like it or not, that's kind of irrelevant. That is just where we are. The Iranian regime has, to use the official term, escalation dominance. It has already basically started cutting the fuel pipes of the global economy, which will hurt the world more than it will hurt them. They have the ability to strike Gulf, Saudi, and beyond electrical and desalination plants should have the US and Trump and Israel decided to go after theirs. I'm not sure what people were expecting. This was a dumb war with no real clear plan from what I can gather. Certainly there didn't appear to be any clear plan on how to keep Hormuz open and therefore keep the world economy rolling along. The MAGA crowd are out selling it as some sort of great negotiation. Let's be honest, what happened was the Iranians said, here is what we're willing to negotiate round, and Orange Caesar went, yeah, okay. I suspect the Iranian regime only did what it did then was because there are reports that the Chinese pushed them to negotiate. This has been a complete debacle. Make no, let's not dress this up. It really has been a complete and utter debacle. It is a debacle in terms of US relations with various parties, from NATO to Japan, South Korea and Australia and beyond. It's a debacle in terms of a demonstration of American power, or in this case, American powerlessness. It is a debacle in terms of strengthening the Iranian regime, certainly in the short term, They control Hormuz. They have demonstrated they control it, and they will likely continue to control it. It is, as I said in my last video, I suspect the modern day equivalent of America's or a modern day Vietnam for America, in terms of American power is being shown to be brittle and not as powerful as people thought, but also it probably calls into question longer term now the relationship with Israel, because the Trump administration is already briefing that everyone was against the war, but Israel managed to persuade them all to go into it. And when you take into account the changing American polling on Israel in terms of the shift in public opinion, this will, as I've been saying for some weeks, probably be the last war that Israel persuades America to join on their behalf or alongside them. I suspect that even the many Israeli supporters realise this, which is why they've spent the last week or so saying what wonderful allies they are of the United States in comparison to everyone else that didn't get involved in this complete and utter shit show of a war. Longer term within the Gulf, it may actually work in America's favour once you get past the initial shock. The Gulf states and Saudi Arabia will almost certainly now build around Hormuz. They will double down on defences. Iran will almost certainly build around Hormuz as well. Iraq, which sits at the top of the strait, and bearing in mind that it's complicated domestic politics, will, if it's got any sense, split the difference and decide to plug into both pipe systems that will shift oil and gas around to new ports on the relevant coasts. I suspect, though, that Saudi Arabia will be very concerned about what's happened, being basically buttressed by the Houthis in Yemen on one side, and then across the Gulf, Iran on the other. And they will probably, as they've done so far, continue to hedge their bets to a certain extent in terms of where they sell oil. I hate to say it to the clever people in Britain who demanded we get involved for our friends and allies in support of this war, but you were wrong. I think Labour was right to not get us involved. I would have still given them use of the bases, because that's effectively a near zero cost thing for us to do. But Starmer and others were right insofar as not getting us involved in trying to reopen Hormuz or anything else like that. And you don't see me or hear me complimenting Starmer very often. In terms of the actual world economy, you're looking at, even if this ceasefire holds, you're looking at months of disruption. There are many oil and gas wells that are permanently sealed in, will have to be redug from scratch. There are others that can be reopened, but they can only be reopened once the storage tanks in Kuwait, Gulf states and beyond have been emptied out. They can only be emptied out once the tankers that are queuing in Hormuz can get out and can get to their location. So you're looking at weeks for them to go to their location, and then they have to come back again. You have basically a complete and utter dislocation in a industry which is supposed to be always on, always flowing. So tankers are both geographically and time-wise out of position. It will take time for that to get back to any semblance of normality. In that time, you'll likely see energy prices will remain elevated, that they've dropped back again. Again, Iran will do very well out of that. There are those who say, well, just speaking to a guy on Twitter this morning about it. Oh, yes, but, the Iranian regime, the Iranian economy has been obviously severely damaged. Yes, but if they get sanctions relief, yes, but if they are charging for Hormuz, yes, but if you have elevated oil prices, then you are looking at them effectively getting an economic bonanza coming in. Yeah, it's a complete shit show. You will, of course, not hear anyone that supported this claim that this is anything but a great success, except for perhaps the slightly more saner ones. And they'll all whine over, why is he doing it now? Because they don't really have any real grasp over the reality of what's going on. The reason why Trump is doing it now, by the way, why this negotiation's come up now, is in the last few days, the last few tankers from Hormuz finally reached their destinations in Asia, Europe, and North America. So the oil shock is now starting to spread outwards. If you reopen Hormuz, that shock, may be limited to a matter of, or certainly limited in scale, and will be limited to a matter of weeks, maybe a few months. You keep it going for much longer, then that shock will grow and grow and grow. Again, that's just economic reality. I'm sorry that other people don't like that, but that's the way the world is. So yeah, shambles, absolute shambles, complete and utter shambles.